Well, since I just talked about what is arguably the largest, at least attempted, tank project ever, maybe we should talk about the smallest. It's also German. And it's adorable! Also, it's not even technically a tank. It's technically a tracked mine. Because it explodes. But given the general appearance and tanky nature of this, I'm just gonna go with it, whatever. This is the Goliath tracked mine. Yes, they really called it Goliath. Germany liked doing that when it came to really small and really big things. Like the rat and the mouse were named Rat and Mouse. And the tiny thing over here is named Goliath. Of course, that makes sense if you don't think about it at all. These little devils consist of two different series, which are technically unmanned ground vehicles, used by the Wehrmacht as disposable demolition devices in World War II. I say they're technically unmanned because they required a wire to a remote, and you didn't ride in them, but you kind of had to have a person pretty close to them. They weren't wireless or anything, but we'll get to the details in a second. While these were used in World War II, the concept of this dates back to World War I, and it wasn't even a German concept. The earliest one was French. The French created what was known as the Crocodile Schneider Torpille Terrestre, or Land Torpedo Crocodile Schneider, which carried a 40-kilogram explosive charge, and they tried to use it in 1916, but it wasn't very good. It didn't really do that well, so they stopped doing that. They also had another one that was electrically driven, but it also did not work that well, and they saw limited use overall. By 1918, an American inventor, Elmer Wickersham, patented what was known as the Wickersham Land Torpedo, and then in the 1930s, another similar vehicle was developed, again by a French designer, Adolphe Quigrès. And he's the one we really need to stick on because he's the one who inspired the Germans of World War II to attempt this. His prototype was obtained by the Germans in late 1940 and examined, and the Wehrmacht thought it had potential, so they requested the Carl F.W. Borgward Automotive Company to develop a very similar vehicle for the purposes of carrying a minimum of 50 kilograms, 110 pounds of explosives, so they could move it around towards the enemy. And then, kaboom! That was the idea. And they did deliver. While generally referred to as the Goliath, the official name is Sonderkraftfahrzeug 302, or Special Purpose Vehicle 302, or just the Goliath, which is what I'm gonna choose to call it that, because that's easier to say. And they actually beat the requirement, because the Goliath could carry 130 pounds of explosives, 60 kilograms, so a little bit more than the Wehrmacht was looking for. And they were steered utilizing a remote control and a joystick attached to them via a wire to a control box. The wire itself was a triple-strand cable that was 650 meters long, 2,130 feet, so it was a very long cable, so they didn't have to stay that close to it, because they were going to blow it up, and they didn't want to stand that close to it. And the cable was pretty critical to the Goliath's function, and by pretty critical I mean they really actually genuinely needed it. And naturally they were designed to be disposable because you were blowing them up. These things weren't moving towards the enemy, leaving an explosive and then running away. No. They themselves were moving mines that blew up. Early models of the Goliath used 2 electric motors, but those motors were pretty expensive, 3,000 Reichsmarks each. So a new model of the Goliath was introduced, the 303, which used a cheaper 2-stroke petrol engine instead of the electrical motors. Either way though, both provided a similar amount of power, and the Goliaths were fielded. They were used in pretty much anywhere the Wehrmacht was. The SS didn't really use them, but the Wehrmacht did, starting in 1942, mostly given to specialized panzer and combat engineer units that were trained on their function, They were used in Italy and Poland during the Warsaw Uprising, and some were even seen on the beaches of Normandy during the D-Day invasion. The Germans would produce 7,564 of them total, but in terms of their effectiveness, they really weren't that good at all. The idea was sound, sure, but the Goliaths had a lot of problems that really couldn't be resolved, especially back with the technology they had. For one thing, let's talk about that cable. Remember, these aren't wireless. They need the cable in order to move, or do anything. So if someone were to say, sever said cable with anything, gunfire and explosions, something else, the Goliath was dead. It couldn't be used at all, unless you fixed the cable, but doing that in the middle of battle was kind of a problem. This was actually a key issue on D-Day, because, yeah, they were there, but they actually didn't do anything when it came to stopping the invasion, because the artillery strikes on the locations they were at severed all their cables. So, yeah, they couldn't be used. And, yes, they were small, but they weren't so small as to be considered properly portable. You actually needed to work pretty hard to move them around, because despite appearing rather small, these things weighed 750 pounds. Like, not as much as a tank, sure, but also too heavy for a single dude to lift. But the average Wehrmacht soldier's not lifting that by himself, so that was an issue, and you couldn't move them under their own power because they were very slow. They could only be pushed to a max of about 4 miles an hour, that was it. And they were only very lightly armored, so if they were spotted, they could be pretty easily disabled by just shooting them. Again, with anything. Meaning they generally failed to reach their targets. Granted though, if they did, their explosives were pretty reliable and significant. Like when they exploded, they really exploded. So if they did manage to go off where they were supposed to, they would do decent damage, but actually getting there in the first place was very difficult, and that wasn't even the worst part about them. The worst part was cost. Remember, these are disposable moving mines. And the thing about that is, well, when you use them, whether they succeed or not, they're gone. You're done. And they were far and away more expensive to manufacture than, say, regular mines. Like, yeah, you can move these around, but what for? If you just put mines, like, on the ground, under the dirt, that would probably be more effective. They're cheaper to make, and they're not as easily spotted, unlike these, which are very expensive, and even if they work as intended, you still lose them because they blew up. A significant amount of the Goliaths were captured by Allied forces and were examined because they were pretty interesting, but it was decided that all of these problems meant that using them ourselves or even making our own version just wasn't really something we were interested in doing. But some were utilized by the United States Army Air Force, believe it or not for their original function. They removed the explosives. As it turned out, despite being really slow, they had a decent amount of power in terms of tractive force. They could actually be used as aircraft tugs, which was a pretty novel thing for a bit, at least till their engines finally died. Because those engines weren't meant to last. The Goliaths in general weren't meant to last, because they were meant to be disposable. So, despite being expensive, they were still made pretty cheaply, and they generally failed after a short time doing this thing that they weren't actually designed to do in the first place, but it was a fair attempt to make some use out of them, and there are some photos of Allied soldiers just riding them. Which was probably a little bit of fun, you know. Additionally, Romania also had their own version of something like the Goliath, but there's very little information on theirs. What is known is that they didn't bother to give theirs any kind of armor at all, so it was much worse and never went beyond the prototype stage. Also, it was somehow way heavier than the Germans. The Romanian version was 2 tons! No, that sounds like a terrible idea. And in case you want to see one of these little things yourself, well, in their case, quite a number were preserved because they were easily stored and just given to museums all over the place. There's some in Germany, some in Denmark, some in America, France, Canada, the UK, Netherlands. Seriously, they're literally everywhere. Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.